All right, good afternoon, everyone, and good evening or good night to those joining us from Israel. My name is Adam Odesser. I'm director of the Dr. Stuart Lesson's Israel Action Center at the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. Today, we mark day 27 of the war between Israel and Hamas, 27 days since the barbaric terrorist attack by Hamas on Israel. To date, over 1,400 have been reported killed. Over 240 people have been kidnapped, including over 100 that hold foreign citizenships from close to 30 countries. Israel might be at the forefront of this war, but this war is a war of the entire Western world against a vicious terrorist organization who is holding not only Israelis captive, but foreign citizens and holding their own Palestinian people in Gaza captive. To brief us on this situation and update us on the ongoing developments of the war in Gaza, including what we are now seeing regionally from the north, Lebanon, Syria, to the south, Yemen, and to the east with Iran, of course, we are happy to be joined by Ehud Yaari. Ehud is the Israel-based Lafer International Fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy and is a Middle East commentator for Israel's Channel 12. And if you've been watching this channel over the past few weeks, as much as I have, perhaps, you know, Ehud has been very, very busy. So we are thankful for him taking out some time to speak with us today. Ehud has won numerous awards throughout his career, and I recommend to go read his bio if you haven't already. I just don't want to take up any more of our time with, we have a short amount of time with him. So before I pass it over to Ehud, I will just mention that he will be speaking for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we will take some questions. Some have submitted in advance, but if you'd like to submit any additional questions, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Closed captioning will be available as well once we turn it on right now. And Ehud, I'm going to pass it over to you. Thank you again for being here.
My pleasure, Adam. Thank you for having me. I know there are quite a few people attending who know us for many years, dear friends, and I send the regards of my wife, Dagmar. And now I will go to the business. I will be blunt, as always, and I will speak in bullets. Number one, what was the plan? The Iranians were set upon sabotaging, foiling the American effort to broker a normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. That was quite advanced. From the Iranian point of view, it constitutes a real threat. They were thinking that over time, they may have to face Israeli military assets in the Persian Gulf, elsewhere in the Gulf, not something which gives them a lot of comfort. So over the past few months, we have seen intensive deliberations, consultations between the Iranians, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad of lesser importance, and Hezbollah. Normally, usually led by the guy who replaced Qasem Soleimani, who was killed by the Americans, fortunately, in 2020, General Ismail Qani, the commander of the Quds Force, which is the organization that controls the regional activity of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. They had many meetings in Beirut, in Damascus, and in Tehran. What has transpired there, to the best of my information, limited guarantee, and understanding, is that the Iranians were encouraging both, but mainly Hamas, to mount an attack, allowing them to believe, I'm very careful here, that they have a commitment, a promise, a guarantee of the Iranians and Hezbollah not to leave them alone. And Hamas acted on it. Now, I know for fact that the Iranians and Sheikh Nasrallah were not aware of the 0 hour, of the exact plan of attack, but it was less important because the plan of the attack, which was executed by Hamas on October 7th, was a copy-paste of the plan of attack that the Hezbollah had for northern Israel, including my home village, Metula, before the Israeli army managed to block all the attack tunnels that they have been digging into Israeli territory. So they took the Hezbollah plan, copied it to the Gaza front, and carried it out. Hamas believed, I'm deeply convinced on it, having spent all my life in the no man's land, the minefield between Israelis and Arabs. Hamas believed that they are going to be backed and assisted with other fronts opening up. So far, it didn't really happen, and Hamas is extremely bitter about the fact that Hezbollah's participation is sort of restricted. I'll go into that later. And Iran is saying what was written in the mouthpiece of Supreme Leader Khamenei 2 days ago, Kayhan, the most important newspaper in Tehran, if you ask me. They said Iran doesn't fight outside its borders on behalf of others. Historically, for about 200 years, Iran never fought a war beyond its borders, unless attacked by Saddam Hussein and they go on the counter offensive. Hezbollah, Hamas has been doing drills called Strong Pillar for a few months before the attack, which would remind us all of the military exercise of the Egyptian army before the 73 war, Yom Kippur, which have converted suddenly into an all-out offensive. That's exactly what happened here. So they had the drills going. The Israelis were sort of grew accustomed to these constant drills and lobbing of missiles into the sea, reconnaissance along the 59 kilometers long border between Israel and Gaza, etc. What we had is a colossal, I have no other word, a colossal intelligence failure. Not because, I'm saying it with confidence, I'm coming from this discipline, not because the Israeli intelligence agencies did not have information, not because they were blind, not because the girl soldiers watching the cameras and the sensors on the fence with Gaza didn't notice suspicious movements. Not at all. It was. I'm blunt and I'm to be quoted on it. Because of two peacock generals heading the military intelligence, you know, those kind of swaggering Israeli generals, not all of them are like this, most of them are not, who know better. They knew better. They had enough information. On the night between the 6th and the 7th, they didn't even alert the commander of the Air Force. Get more attack helicopters, squadrons on the ready, etc., etc. They decided to wait to the morning, and it happened at 6:31 a.m. It is worse than what happened in Yom Kippur. Worse than 73. Much worse. No justification for that. Why? Because there was this conception governing the analysis of both the government and the military establishment, defense establishment, not just the IDF, that Hamas is deterred, that what they are interested in at this point is not another round of fighting, which leads nowhere, but in having some more economic benefits, more workers from Gaza coming to break bread in Israel, and then Hamas can take their cut in Texas, more Qatari money coming in, more fuel going in, etc., etc. On the morning of October 7th, the Black Saturday, we call it here, which reminds us of a Black Saturday under the British mandate. I'm not going into it. On the morning of October 7th, the leader of Hamas in Gaza, and please don't pay attention to anybody else, not Haniyeh, not Mash'al, they don't count. The leader in Gaza, Sinwar, he has 2 commando battalions plus ready, all along the fence, and he has to make a decision. Am I going to mount, with Iranian blessing, of course, a limited attack, 1 kibbutz, 2 kibbutz, Sderot, the town, to take hostages and then go for an exchange? Or I'm going for an all-out assault all along the border. And they see that the Gaza division, it's a territorial division, which is responsible for the defense all around Gaza, has is low in its forces. They had 1 battalion taken to the West Bank, etc., etc. They were not fully deployed along the Gaza Strip. And then they take the decision, we go to break into at least 22 villages, moshavim, kibbutzim, go into the 2 closest towns, Sderot first, but then Ofakim, 30 kilometers away. They are coming with Toyota Land Cruisers and Savannas, which the Bedouins call the new camel, the modern camel. They come with equipment and enough ammunition and arms to stay for weeks inside Israeli territory, with the orders to take as many hostages as possible, kill as many, burn everything they see, etc. I do not recommend to you to watch the 40 minutes film that the IDF spokesman's office edited out of the GoPro cameras of the terrorists themselves. It's horrible. Decapitating babies, burning families, etc., etc., etc. It was a really the Einsatzgruppen in action. No question about that. So, most of the civilian the villages and those two towns were left without real defense. In those kibbutzim, which were more which were quicker to understand what was going on because there was a salvo, a barrage of rockets before, they managed to stop the attack by, let's say, 2,500 Hamas. But they were followed by a lot of riffraff from Gaza who came to plunder. And many of them, because it was open, it was exposed, and many of them took hostages. And Hamas doesn't know to this moment where are all the hostages kept. So on the one hand, we had this unbelievable failure. The army was not under ready, Air Force not under ready, took them hours to get to the scene of battles, including this music festival at the woods in Re'im. But you had really moving. I've seen wars in my life. Really moving, heroic, courageous battles by Israelis, whether it was civilians with rifles and guns, or the few army guys who rushed to the scene. And basically, the assault, the grand assault, was blocked by, not by the regular army, but by guys from the army who rushed there, and by civilians with guns. Hamas lost hundreds of its terrorists in this attack, and by now they have lost many more. What we have seen here is what I call, for years, the mukawama. Mukawama means resistance in their language. Mukawama doctrine. This is the doctrine sponsored by the same Qasem Soleimani that I've mentioned before, the Iranian head of Al-Quds force, which says he is the first one. No Arab did it before him. No Arab leader had a real plan how to eradicate Israel. Qasem Soleimani, killed in 2020 by the US outside Baghdad airport, he had a plan. And it's still at work. The plan was to encircle Israel with a ring of missiles and militias, etc. Everybody who is not Iranian. They are willing to spend the lives of as many Arabs as possible, whether Shiites or Sunnis. And then to push not for a decisive offensive, but exercising consistent pressure, attrition, missile here, missile there, attack here, attack there, against Israel over a long time. So what we are witnessing now is an attempt, partial attempt, to carry out or to test the Qasem Soleimani Mukawama doctrine. As to the situation in Gaza now, the Israeli army, I'm watching the clock, Adam. The Israeli army is inside the center of Gaza City. They do not announce it, but I'm not breaking the rules of censorship by saying it to you. 3 divisions. They meet resistance. But the pressure is on, and they are already partly and will be there soon over the tunnel systems where the Hamas leadership is hiding, the military leadership, whether they keep some, not all, of the hostages, big problem. And then you have the issue of how do you deal with the tunnels. We are not going, to the best of my understanding, send our infantry to fight inside the tunnels. I will quote Defense Minister Gallant, who said today, we have ways to flesh them out or kill them inside the tunnels. But of course, the presence of hostages creates a big problem. And it's not going to happen tomorrow or the day after. We are talking a long effort. We have destroyed, the IDF, not me, the IDF Air Force has destroyed much of the tunnel network, which goes about 300, 350 kilometers under Gaza City alone. But you have to be very careful how you do that and what kind of stuff you send into the tunnels. It will take some time. I'm moving to the West Bank. In the West Bank, the idea of the Iranians, Hamas, Hezbollah was that simultaneous with the attack, they will mount an attempt to take over the compound of the Palestinian Authority's president, our friend Mahmoud Abbas Abu Mazen. This did not happen, and they wanted, of course, to ignite the whole of the West Bank. This did not happen so far because the Israeli security services, with some collaboration with the PA, security organs have arrested close to 1,000 Hamas activists, have foiled many attempts to mount terrorist attacks. But today we had the first attack which killed an Israeli citizen, a guy who's coming back from his reserve duty to a settlement in the West Bank. I would say at this point, the West Bank is sort of contained. What is complicating the situation is some radical elements amongst the settlers who are initiating attacks against neighboring Palestinian villages. Not too many, but they do, who are chasing out shepherd communities of Palestinians from Area C. Absolutely unnecessary. The non-government that we have now is not doing enough to punish them, prevent it, and contain them. Moving on, Yemen. I'll come to Hezbollah. Yemen. As expected, the Houthis in Yemen, a proxy of Iran, fully equipped with Iranian missiles, attack UAVs, cruise missiles, whatever you want by Iran, you know, just converting the names from Farsi to Arabic, are now aiming at the port of Eilat and the vicinity. It's 1,750 kilometers away. So far, they have failed. It's very complicated for them to hit Eilat or the vicinity of Eilat because the Israelis have the Arrow 3, the best anti-ballistic system that I think anybody has in place, just being bought by Germany for billions of dollars. We have missile vessels in the Red Sea, down in the Red Sea, with capacity to shoot them down. The US is there with similar capabilities. And hello, the Saudis, who have their own air defense systems, are also downing them. So that's what it is. I think the main threat from the Yemenis, from the Houthis at this time, is if they decide to go to disrupt shipping in the Red Sea, in the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb, the Gate of Tears. This is a major sea lane for world economy. So far, it did not happen. We'll see what's coming next. In brackets, what's important is A, the internationally recognized Yemeni government, which is not in control of the country, part of it, has denounced what the Houthis are doing. And the people backed by the UAE in South Yemen, seeking to cede from Yemen and re-establish the South Yemeni Republic, they are publicly talking about normalization with Israel, etc. But this is a side remark. Hezbollah. We have seen over the past 3 weeks Hezbollah intervening, but restricting their involvement to trying to hit military targets 5 kilometers at most from the frontier, allowing Hamas Lebanon, there is a branch like this, and another Islamic Sunni group in Lebanon called the Muslim group, a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, to take responsibility. Today, they have escalated the intensity of the attacks. Nasrallah is going to speak tomorrow. I think it's 8 a.m. Washington time. Everybody is waiting for his speech. I doubt that he's going to go for an all-out, full-blown war with Israel. It doesn't seem to me that he is ready for the price to pay for Lebanon and for Hezbollah. And I don't think the Iranians, who have built for years Hezbollah's arsenal of heavy missiles, precision-guided some of them, are interested in sacrificing this sort of insurance policy they have for the sake of Hamas. But it's getting a bit warmer there. We should not forget that we had to evacuate all villages on the border with Lebanon. We had, of course, to evacuate all villages on the border with Gaza. So we are now, for maybe the first time, Israel with refugees. People displaced. And just that there is no doubt, the government is totally dysfunctional. This government, most ministries. So everything is done by volunteers, led by people like Brother in Arms groups, etc., that were in the midst of the demonstrations against Bibi's judicial reform. They are the people who are coming now to help pick tomatoes in kibbutzim that were evacuated by their citizens. The Thailandi workers fled, those who were not taken by Hamas. They are the ones who's supporting the evacuated people, etc. I'll give you an example. A group of 160 ex-generals, full major generals of the army, they took immediately upon themselves to look after the communities of those kibbutzim and others who had to evacuate the places. They are refugees without even a suitcase. So you have a general or two watching over a community of each kibbutz, each village that had to be evacuated. And the reason is the government is not there. Apart from the defense ministry, to some extent the interior ministry, the rest of the government, no news, nothing to speak about. And they are quarreling among themselves, and those addicted Bibi fans are smearing the military and the Shabak, the General Security Service, non-stop. I'll give you one example. One of the guys who led for Bibi, the campaign for the judicial reform, Mr. Simcha Rotman, a member of Knesset, head of the legislative law commission of parliament, of the Knesset, said the other day that the blood of the settlers killed is redder, more red, than the blood of others who got killed during this war. And then, of course, he denied and retracted, etc. But as my network reported today, and we are a serious network, by far the biggest in Israel, there are protocols. So please understand me, how upset a guy like me is, and everybody I know, to hear somebody speak like this. Does the Prime Minister have anything to say? Not really. His Finance Minister, Mr. Smotrich, is trying to block passing to the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank the taxes that we collect for them. It's about 600 million. And the military and the defense establishment and everybody in his right mind understands this is stupid. Because what it will do, A, it's their money. B, what it will do, it will force them to cut salaries. You cut salaries of people, you get more people on the street demonstrating for Hamas. We have demonstrations in the West Bank for Hamas. You get more people who say, well, let's go for, some kind of an attack. And they keep squabbling and quarreling in this government. It's unbelievable. I'll conclude this by saying that apart from these fronts that I have referred to, the Iranians, according to the doctrine of Soleimani, the Mukawama doctrine, are trying to ignite not just Yemen, Lebanon, West Bank, they're going beyond. They are now moving a militia, an Iranian-sponsored militia from Syria, which is under the command also of the brother of President Assad, General Maher Assad, the 4th Division. They are moving them now from Syria to Lebanon. They need cannon fodder, Hezbollah. They are trying to get more rockets and attacks coming into the Golan from Syria, in spite of the fact that the UAE has made it clear to Assad that if you join, you may not have the normalization you want with the Arab League. And today, the Iranian-sponsored militias in Iraq, which are 150,000 strong, announced a full war against the American bases in Iraq. You have there about 2,500 soldiers, including one air base. They have declared full alert. And just 5 minutes ago, they said that they fired from Iraq, not verified at all, that they fired the first rockets into Israel from Iraq. They claim that they hit some place in the Dead Sea region. I don't think it happened. So the situation is the Iranians are conducting an orchestra. They are trying to stay out of it, and they say so. And we need time in order to accomplish what Israel wants to, and the US, I must say, the US backing is wonderful. In order to accomplish the uprooting of Hamas, not from hearts and minds, but as a military force and government from Gaza, we need time. We need to save our soldiers' lives, not too hasty. When they have resistance, they take a little back, get the Air Force in. We need to do it slowly and properly, and it can be done. And I hope it will be done. Blinken is now here. American generals are here. They know what the plans are. We need patience. Yasser Arafat used to say for years, patience, patience. And I'm quoting him. I was his biographer. Patience, patience. Allah, God, is with those who have patience. We need to have patience now. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Ehud. Yeah, we have a lot of questions, not a lot of time, so I'll just get into a little bit. And you talked a little bit about the U.S. and Blinken being in Israel right now. So tell us a little bit about, if you could talk a little bit about the calls of the U.S. for a humanitarian pause. Does that make sense in terms of from a military standpoint for Israel to do? I'll connect it a little bit. If Israel continues this war as it perhaps should, The stated goal is to eliminate Hamas's military capabilities and its governing control. Is that feasible? And what do you think they see, Israel? What do you think Israel sees for the future of Gaza?
Okay. I think the Biden administration is correct, is right. We need to make sure that the West, the international community, there is also a lot of support in Asia, especially India and Japan, by the way, for the campaign. We need to demonstrate all the time that we are doing everything we can for the civilians, for the hospitals. Just before I came home from the studios, it was announced that we will supply the hospitals with fuel for whatever they need, but no fuel for Hamas, because the fuels ventilate the tunnels. If they don't have fuel, they are in big trouble. That's a different issue. So
how
I think
how can you keep track where the fuel gets to?
They have reserves of fuel because they were stealing from UNRWA, the UN, etc. for years. We are trying to hit it wherever we know the storages are. But they have no hurry. We don't have to hurry. We may at one point decide to withdraw from Gaza City and then coming in raids, armored forces raids, etc. It's not going to end up in weeks, maybe not even months. But I think the general direction of the Biden administration policy is the right one. We have to assure the people of Gaza it's not a war against the civilians. They know it. They need reassurance. And it's good that the US is the one leading the effort. Humanitarian corridors, yes. A humanitarian pause, if it's not too long, absolutely. I think you need to micromanage this between the military plan and the international diplomatic political circumstances. I can speak for myself only. I am very impressed with the way this is being handled by the Biden administration. And I think most Israelis are, certainly the defense establishment. What Bibi thinks, I don't really care.
Thank you. I know your time is short, so I guess one more actor that we didn't talk about is Qatar. And we know there are over 240 hostages in Gaza today, at least. We know that they have incredible influence over Hamas. What should the relationship be with Qatar at this moment? What role do they play?
At this point, Qatar is a very complex issue. And I'm not going into analyzing Qatar. I know Qatar, I've been in so many times. At this point, Qatar can be helpful. It will not be necessarily helpful. Just today, they provided Ismail Haniyeh, the nominal head of Hamas, with a private jet to go to Tehran. In Tehran, they don't talk about peace. But the Qataris are an important channel to Hamas, to the military leadership, which counts in Gaza. My information and experience is, at the end of the day, Egyptian intelligence, the Mukhabarat, has better contacts. And since now the Qataris cannot send the suitcases with dollars to Mr. Sanwa in Gaza, they have lost some of their influence.
Thank you. I know you have to leave. I know. So I want to actually thank you for being here and taking the time for sharing your insights with us and knowledge. We will continue to follow these things as they unfold. And I want to remind everyone, if you want more information to understand the ongoing developments in Israel and in Gaza, and or resources to support Israel at this time, please visit our Israel at War resource page. Can be found on our website at jcouncil.org. If you have any questions, I'm sure I can send questions over to Ehud, and him at his spare time, which he doesn't have much of it, will be happy to share his insights with us further. Thank you again for being here, Ehud, for providing us some of your insights, and wanted to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom, and wishing and hoping for a quiet and safe night here and, of course, in Israel for the people of Israel. So Ehud, thank you, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.